Hi, just a quick intro before we start today's podcast. There are some sensitive bits in the podcast today, and again, we just kind of wanted to warn you ahead of time that sometimes the conversation gets a little bit difficult.
And the topic today that we're discussing is very sensitive, so if you actually have any concerns with mental health issues or depression diagnosis for yourself or someone you know, then to reach out to certified professionals that can direct you to the right resources to actually get the help that you need, or to get the help that somebody that you know might need.
Hello, and welcome to the Healthy Half Hour podcast. We are your hosts, Richard and Karen Inslee.
The Healthy Half Hour podcast is your resource for all things healthy, and we will be discussing how to make nutrition, fitness and lifestyle choices work for you.
We will be sharing our own personal insights along with research gathered from working in the health and fitness industry for the past 10 years.
Our show is brought to you by the 7-Day Shred, which can be found at 7dayshred.com, and please feel free to visit our podcast website, which can be found at healthyhalfhourpodcast.com.
And now on to today's show.
We're back again, and I think it's been 2 weeks since we were last here, is it?
It has, but sometimes people listen to this and it could be 6 months down the road and they're just listening back to back, so nobody cares.
No. So what have we done this...
But it was 2 weeks, just throwing it in there.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. And we've been getting our bees ready for honey production. We went out last night, and because it's our 25th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. And we went
Can't believe you put up with my crap for 25 years.
Oh, longer than that as well, because we dated for 7.
It's true. Just got past the 7-year itch before we got married.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? And yeah, the keto police are going to completely throw us in jail after last night's meal, because we had bread, we had crackers, we had pasta, we had pizza.
Carb overload.
Oh, it was, and it was absolutely awesome. And we bumped into 3 people that we knew in the same restaurant.
But you only married 25 years once, maybe. I don't know, if you do away with me next week, you might get another one in.
Well, yeah, my mum did after my dad passed away, so she celebrated 2 separate 25-year anniversaries.
Show off.
No. Okay, so today's show's a little bit different. We have had a couple of guests on the show before, but this morning we've got Krystal on our show, and Krystal's been staying with us this weekend, so we're actually not letting her out the house until she's done the interview.
Well, this is payment, because it's not no such thing as free board and lodging, so no, she's got to be payback somewhere. So we thought we'd trap her.
And the reason that we wanted to interview Krystal today is because Krystal has previously attended one of our training courses. She's an ex-student of ours, but so obviously we stalk all of our students on Facebook.
They don't realise that when we actually signed up. They never get rid of us.
And Krystal put a post on her Facebook in January, and I messaged her probably, I don't know, a month or so back, saying that I really wanted to interview her and have her discuss this topic, because there's a lot of people that struggle with this, but unless you've actually been through it or listened to somebody that's been through it, and it's all relevant to our obsessions with our body and food. And one of Krystal's comments on her Facebook was that she says that she knows what it's like to hate, in capital letters, her body. But she knows what it's like to actually love her body as well. So,
and we've dealt with this with clients, and again, from an empathetical point of view, you kind of try and put yourself into their place, but unless you've actually been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the video, it's difficult to actually kind of get across how this is. And again, there's people out there obviously probably struggling with the same thing, and maybe some words of wisdom from Krystal, no pressure, can help those people, and and just kind of maybe steer the ship in the right direction for somebody. And again, it's a rocky road, or can be a rocky road, and hopefully you'll get something out of this, even if you've never been through it. Maybe a family member or a friend or something, and you may be able to point them in the direction of this podcast, or just share what Krystal has been through and maybe help them too. And I think we've waffled on enough. Hi, Krystal.
Hi. Well, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very excited to share my story with you all.
The thing that got me is you put a video on your Facebook and it showed you wearing the same clothes. And I want you to just sort of like kind of start off with maybe why you got yourself like so skinny and thin, and how you felt that you looked back then, because one of your comments was that there's such a difference between the two pictures, wearing the same clothes, and how you're heavier and bigger now, but how you prefer how you are now. And so like, just kind of like, start us from the beginning, because you guys can't see this like photo and the video of Krystal, but yeah, there's a difference there. So like I say, we've been waffling on enough. So if you want to just start like where it started with you.
Yeah, for sure. I think the right place to start would be by saying that I dealt with bullying right from grade 1 all the way up until grade 8, which definitely gave me self-esteem issues. I felt like I had to look a certain way in order to be accepted. One of the comments that I remember very vividly in my mind was being told that I look like a mouse. That one was very hurtful, and that one affected me a lot at that time. But now I look back at it and I'm like, you know what? Mice are kind of cute, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that comment. And then when I was probably in about grade 8, I think that's when the body issues really started, and I would look in the mirror and I would think that I was fat.
And how heavy were you back then? Do you remember?
Maybe 95 pounds.
And you thought you were...
And that's age 13, grade 8.
Yeah. And I even had the thought in my mind that if I wore a little tank top under the shirt that I was wearing, that it would make me look thinner, that it would all hold me in. And when I look back at that, I think that's such a crazy mindset to have when I'm that young, and it breaks my heart that I thought that. And I also had friends around me who thought the exact same thing about themselves, and so we just fed off each other, and it really was not a good situation.
So there's a group of you at age 13 at school, and you all had the perception that you were too heavy, too big.
Yes.
You didn't fit in with the rules.
Yes, 2 of my best friends. We all had that mentality. And then in high school, I got told by someone that there was a rumor going around that I was pregnant because I had gained weight.
Wow.
Kids are nasty, eh?
Yes. And at that time, I hadn't even had my first boyfriend. So then skipping to my first year of university, I was involved in a off-again, on-again relationship, which I would definitely consider mentally abusive. I felt as though he wanted me, but he didn't want me, and that really affected the love that I had for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in university, I also developed horrible eating patterns. I had started drinking shakes, thinking that that would help me lose weight. And
do you recall how heavy you were by this point in university?
I think I was still probably about 100 pounds. I think I was about 105.
And how tall are you, Krystal?
I'm 5'3", so not very tall. Everyone likes to make fun of me for it.
Oh, don't worry then. Yeah,
You're taller than Karen.
Yeah, you're taller than me, so...
I always need help to reach the top shelf.
Yeah, me too, yeah. I can get things out of the cupboard, yeah. So, 100 pounds at 5'3", that's not overweight, but obviously, again, you just said that you've been in a mentally abusive relationship and you've been bullied almost from day one of your life, or it feels like it, I guess. And like I say, just the perception of what you saw in the mirror. So, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I strongly believe that mentally abusive relationship affected the love that I had for myself, and I felt as though I had to look a certain way and act a certain way in order for him to want to keep me around. And eventually, I just had enough one day, and I felt so depressed, and I ended up in the ER for the first time in April 2016 because I attempted to take my life, and I felt that I wasn't worthy anymore. And I wish I could say that things got better from there, but they did not. I ended up being escorted home in a police car one day from work because I was threatening one of my friends that I would end my life. Well, not threatening, but just more saying that I was going to. And so the police were called and they took me home and they sat down with me and they had a very deep discussion with me, and I was not allowed to leave until, or they were not allowed to leave until they knew that I was not going to harm myself. And I am very, very thankful for that police officer that sat with me that day, because I feel that is the day that my life changed. When they left, I knew how serious that this had gotten, and I knew that I needed to change something. And I think the first thing that I did was I began to work out. And I started focusing on my health. And then I focused on my nutrition. And that was one of the parts that I had struggled with the most. I had no problem working out. The nutrition was always something that I struggled with because I would view food as good and bad. I restricted myself on many things. If I ate a cookie or a slice of pizza, I was so hard on myself about it, and I worried that I would gain so much weight.
Just from that cookie or piece of pizza.
Exactly, and that's not realistic. Now I've learned that one bad meal isn't going to affect your results.
And bad's relevant. I mean, you, like you say, if people think things are bad, but again, those things will have a long-term effect if it's something you do all the time. But like you were saying last night, you went out with a friend for supper and you had a cookie and ice cream as dessert. So, I mean, like you say, you've made peace with that in your own mind now, that those things are acceptable and it's not the worst thing in the world and it's part of living. But obviously if you had cookies and cream all the time, then that can be an issue with people and lead to obviously other issues and other problems. But you've just made peace with yourself now that that's part of everyday life and something you can do occasionally as a treat.
And can I just backtrack slightly with regard to the conversation that you had with the police? Was it a male or female?
It was a male.
A male policeman. Like, not that it mattered. I was just like interested. But you said that was like the turning point. I mean, was there anything in particular they said to you that help to turn you around? Because, I mean, it might help listeners, like, you know, to understand a little bit better. Or is there nothing that you could really pinpoint with that conversation?
I think it was the fact that he actually sat there and he listened and he didn't judge. Whereas certain family members or friends, they would listen, but they would also judge. They would say, oh, you're not depressed, or you're saying these things for attention, and that just was not how it was. And so I felt very alone and I felt very misunderstood.
And that's one thing we've tried to talk to with clients and other people that are in our training courses. A lot of times people will listen just to answer back. They don't actually listen to take in what you're saying and kind of then either just be that person that is listening or gather their thoughts after you've spoken and then reply. But most people, as soon as you finish your last sentence, they just want to jump straight in. It might be just because they don't like dead air time, or they just, you know, they think they need to talk right away. So they're not actually listening to what you're saying. They just want to react straight away and tell you what their opinion is, even though you've told them what your opinion, it may not align up with theirs. So
they listen to respond, not understand.
Yes, exactly. So again, obviously kudos to the police officer. And obviously helped you out big time. And obviously we realise how difficult this is talking to you. We've spoken to you about this before, but obviously not to this depth. And yeah, this is kind of heartbreaking in a lot of ways.
It is, and like your post even said that your heart broke when you were actually looking at the video.
Definitely, I wish you all could see this video, and if you're interested, you can find it on my social media.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
When I look at my before picture, I can easily see how thin my legs were and also how thin my arms were as well. And when I look at my now picture, I look at my much fuller frame, and that makes me so happy, and I'm very proud of where I am now.
You look healthy on your second one.
And you look happy.
Yeah,
you actually
and that's the huge part too, eh?
Yes. I had a lot of personal development that I had to do, and as for the abusive relationship, I wish I could say that I also got rid of that day, but I did not. I kept that for about another 2 years.
Wow.
Yes. That was kind of a battle against myself, I guess.
That must have been hard because you said that you had that conversation with that policeman. It was a turning point and you began to work out and you knew that you had to do something about the nutrition side of things. But that must have been like really hard for you because having that abusive relationship happening to you as well at the same time as you're trying to improve yourself must have like been a nightmare.
Definitely a little bit conflicting, but I think it was just because he also did support me at times, but I definitely did grow a backbone to some degree. I said certain aspects can't happen anymore, and then on my 21st birthday, I actually had enough. He didn't wish me happy birthday, which that sounds a little over dramatic, but I had said, you know what, it's obvious that you don't care enough about me, and I cut all contact, and I haven't talked to him since.
It's not a bad thing.
No. It's pretty positive, actually, because obviously it was having such a negative impact on your life, even though you said that he was supportive at times, but you want somebody there 110%, not 10% of the time being supportive, I guess.
Absolutely. And
well, that's a really hard thing to do with a relationship, is to cut it off like that and do that. But like you say, obviously you realise that he wasn't caring and helping to the degree that he should, and obviously wasn't empathising with you or seeing your situation and fully. And like you say, it's and who doesn't wish the girlfriend happy 21st birthday?
Yes, I think it's a struggle, but I think I had to develop that love for myself in order to realize that I deserved better and I deserved not to be treated like that.
Mm-hmm.
And following that relationship, I actually had gotten into another relationship who had a very, very large impact on my life.
In a good way?
A very good way,
okay.
Absolutely. No, definitely a very good way. Leading up to that point, I had kind of been talking about wanting to be a personal trainer, and then when I met him, I put that out there, and he encouraged me to just go for it, to just do it. And I was going to sign up for my personal training, but then I also had learned about the healthy eating and weight loss certification. And he said to me, why don't you start with that, kind of get your foot in the door, and then see how that goes. And
you met two really awesome pro trainers to boot.
I definitely did, yes. You guys are like my fitness parents now.
I feel old.
Yeah. I do, because you told us how old your mum is, and she's not much older than what we are.
That just means that you can't get rid of me now.
Oh. We don't want to.
Yes, but as much as he was supportive, that relationship was not always great. There were many secrets that were kept from me and many lies that I had caught him in. And I had tried to leave once. And we had begun dating in January. And I had tried to leave in March for the first time, but I could not build my courage up to do it. And then in June, he had told me that there was news that he had to go out to BC for work, and there was a potential that he might get posted out there, which led to a big discussion for us of what we were going to do. And I remember him saying to me in our conversation that he didn't doubt me, but he sometimes doubted our relationship. And in that moment, I had a very, very strong love for myself, and I said to him, you know what, I do not want to be with someone who doubts whether or not they want to be with me. I want to be with someone who knows that they want to be with me and could never see their life without me.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense.
And so I left that relationship, and I cried about it a little bit. I won't lie about that. But after that, I definitely got my life together, and I started personal development every day. I was listening to podcasts every day. I was studying for my healthy eating certification. I even reached out to one of my mentors now, Brady Johnson, and that was a very scary thing for me to do, but I took a leap of courage and faith, and I asked her to meet with me, and she met with me, and now we are really great friends. And so I am so appreciative that I found love and confidence within myself to get myself out of those relationships and start working really hard towards the things that I want to do.
Yeah, that's amazing, because like you say, people try to do things on their own, and we were chatting to you this morning over breakfast about our mentor. Richard and I have the same mentor that we met 13 years ago when Richard did his PTS, and I obviously met Deanna at the same time, and we reach out to her and other people, because like you say, you're trying to be strong for yourself, but sometimes the strongest thing that you can do is actually admit that you do need help from other people, and you need support.
And coaches need coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There
Mm-hmm.
aren't. We've seen, again, in the bodybuilding world, I mean, we've seen bodybuilders try to, who are coaches, actually get themselves into competition ready, and they've failed, and they've actually had to hire a coach to coach them to get into, even though they spend all their days coaching other people, And I mean, like I say, a doctor who treats himself as a fool or something, or a doctor who's got himself for a patient as a fool or something like that. So again, we all need help and we all need that. And again, kudos for Krystal for, obviously pulling herself up by her bootstraps, and which a lot of people sometimes really struggle with. And hopefully this podcast has kind of really helped those people and just kind of help them move forward. And maybe, there is something out there you can do. And yes, reach out to somebody, but two, you can't just sit there and wait for somebody to come and find you. You've actually got to get out there and kind of take some ownership for your situation and just kind of take the big step forward and make better things happen for you.
And do you feel that because you said about like using the shakes and whatever, do you feel like you had a significant eating disorder back then? Not to the point of anorexia or bulimia probably, but maybe it was verging on becoming anorexic. Did you worry about that? Did you even consider that might happen? Or was it not on your radar?
At that point, I wasn't even aware of the thought. Mm-hmm. To me, that was just my normal life, and that was what I was doing. I didn't think that it was wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And like I say, I mean, a lot of people use food and as a crutch in multiple ways, whether it's restricting their intake or binging. And obviously the latter wasn't something that you were doing. But so let's jump forward a little bit just to where you are right now, because I'd say we can share the picture on the show notes of yourself. But you said that you had you had multiple turning points, like the conversation with the policeman, coming out of the relationships, and looking at your pictures now, you do look, yes, a lot happier where you are right now is compared to where you were obviously 3 years previous to this picture. And so just tell us a little bit about Krystal now then. Where do you see yourself? This was 3 years ago, maybe another 3 years, you're actually decided to do your personal trainer cert, as well as the healthy eating and weight loss coach course as well now, haven't you? So
yes, now I'm so much more confident and I am so much more outgoing. I have no problem sharing my story, and I want to share my story. I want it to be out there and I want to be able to help people, and that is why I have the desire to be a personal trainer now, is so that I can be out there and I can be helping people get through any sort of emotion or hard feelings that they have towards their body or food as well.
And sharing your story is hopefully going to help somebody else in this, in your situation. And a lot of people think that it's only happening to them, and that they're on their own and that nobody else is experiencing these problems. And a lot of the times it is with those situations that people feel isolated. Oh, nobody knows how I feel. Nobody else is having these struggles. Whereas you obviously have shared, put your heart on your sleeve, and we appreciate you doing this interview.
Sure, yeah, it's been obviously very difficult, and you obviously can hear it in your voice sometimes. You still, even when you think about it, you're still reliving parts of it, and it's very difficult to kind of get those words out sometimes. But no, we really appreciate you sharing it with, and hopefully people have got a lot from this, and we'll put this one out there. And again, if you've got any messages for Krystal, you can send them back through the podcast, and we'll certainly forward them on to us. Again, if with Krystal's permission, if you want to, we'll put her social media links on there, so you can, if you want to reach out and message or be a friend or have anything to say, positively about what's going off, then please feel free to do that, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would love that. I would love to connect with all of you.
Yeah, because obviously we don't want Krystal to become a psychiatrist and to be
that's the next step.
That's the next course that she's actually going to train
right after my PTS certification.
Psychology degree.
Yeah, but it's nice, Krystal, that you don't mind people reaching out to you, because sometimes just a quick conversation or even just somebody reading your story or just a few of your posts, because like we see a lot of like the updates that you put, and it's really inspiring. And I know that there was one post, and I can't remember where it was, but you said that you know, you don't mind putting all this stuff out there because you want people to know, and you're comfortable with people knowing that now, because at the end of the day, if it can help even one person, it's worth it, and it's helping you sharing this. I can gather that it helps you to put this, like, you know, pen to paper kind of thing.
Yeah, tough to relive it, but worth sharing the story for sure.
So yeah, we thank you very much, Krystal. Is there anything you want to finish off with, or
we'll let you have the last word, because it's normally me, but you go for it.
Oh, pressure's on now.
Yeah, pressure. Get the light out and shine a light in your face.
No, I want to just say that if you are struggling, I want you to know that you matter, and what you are going through matters, because it is your story. And I want you to know that at any point in time, you have the opportunity to rewrite your story. Where you are right now is not where you have to stay. You have the ability to create any life that you want for yourself. And I want you to know that I still struggle sometimes. As much as I say I feel super confident, there are times when I still struggle, and I look in the mirror sometimes and I think, okay, you know what, I probably could change this. But then I say to myself, you are fine just the way that you are. Your body right now is what you have been working so hard for.
That's all we have time for right now, but we do hope that you join us for our next show. And if you want to contribute to an upcoming show by suggesting a topic that you would like us to discuss in more detail, then hop over to our website, healthyhalfhourpodcast.com, subscribe to our podcast and submit your suggestions. The Healthy Half Hour Podcast was brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, and don't forget to share our details with your friends and review our show. Until next time, thanks for listening.